It was a blustery December day in the year 1460 when the armies of York and Lancaster clashed in the fields outside the small town of Wakefield. The Wars of the Roses had been raging for almost a decade, pitting the House of York against the House of Lancaster in a bitter struggle for control of the English throne. And now, with tensions at their highest, the fate of England hung in the balance. For the Yorkists, led by the charismatic Duke of York himself, the Battle of Wakefield was a chance to strike a decisive blow against their enemies. With an army of thousands at his back, he marched confidently onto the battlefield, his silver armor glinting in the weak winter sun. The Lancastrians, led by the Duke of Somerset, were quick to respond. They had been waiting for this moment, and they were ready. Their own army was smaller than the Yorkists, but they were fierce warriors, seasoned by years of fighting and battle, hardened from countless campaigns. As the two armies closed in on each other, the air was thick with tension and fear. The sound of swords clashing and men shouting echoed across the field, drowned out only by the desperate cries of the wounded and dying. It was a brutal, bloody battle, one that would go down in history as one of the most savage of the entire Wars of the Roses. The fighting was fierce and unrelenting, with both sides refusing to give even an inch of ground. For hours, the battle raged back and forth, each side locked in a deadly struggle for superiority. Men fought and died in droves, their bodies strewn across the muddy earth, their blood spilling out to stain the fields red. Despite his bravery and his tactical skill, the Duke of York was eventually overwhelmed by the Lancastrian forces. With his army depleted and his own men falling around him, he fought on valiantly, refusing to surrender even as the Lancastrians closed in. In the end, it was a cruel and bloody death that awaited the Duke of York. Surrounded on all sides by his enemies, he was cut down in a hail of swords and axes, his shining armor stained with his own blood. His men fought on, but without their leader they were quickly overwhelmed, and the Battle of Wakefield was lost. For the Lancastrians, it was a moment of triumph and vindication. They had proven that they were still a force to be reckoned with, that they could stand against the might of the Yorkists and emerge victorious. But for the Yorkists, it was a crushing defeat, one that would haunt them for years to come. In the years that followed, the Wars of the Roses would rage on, claiming countless lives and driving a deep wedge between the people of England. The Battle of Wakefield would be remembered as one of the darkest and most tragic moments of the conflict, a brutal and savage battle that laid waste to the English countryside and claimed the lives of many brave men. But even in the midst of such darkness and despair, there was still hope. There were still those who believed that England could be united, that the warring factions could come together and forge a better future. And though the road ahead would be long and treacherous, they would not give up, not until they had achieved their goal of bringing peace to a war-torn land.